What is going on, everybody? How are we doing this afternoon? The markets are taking a beating today, and it is all thanks to our good friend, Mr. or Mrs., not sure, but NVDA, NVIDIA announcing that earnings are going to be a little light this time around, this quarter. And, you know, they're the drunk guy at the party. They're just got a little too drunk and they're thrown up over in the corner somewhere. The market seems not to really love it. If we take a look, I'm on the NVDA chart. Now we're down about 9% today from the lows. From the open, or rather from the close last Friday, we are down a cool 9%. And, you know, this is a pretty nasty little move. Came right into the anchored VWAP from those March highs. You know, we've been keeping our eye on this March high anchored VWAP on a ton of the names, on the indices, on a lot of the individual names. This anchored VWAP has come into play, or is the one that we've all been kind of keeping our eye on. It's the most important swing high here. And, you know, we've also got the 100-day moving average here. And, you know, price come right into that 100-day moving average and failing. So not really what you want to see, kind of right into these previous highs as well. This guy right in here. Not what you want to see if you're bullish on this particular name. Now, the question is, you know, Apple did this too. Apple, about a week before earnings, came out and kind of guided a little bit more softly than people anticipated. And everything kind of turned out okay with Apple. So maybe that'll be the case here. I mean, we do have a ton of volume. We could see it quite above average volume on the day today. So a little concerning, this sell-off. I'd be curious to know y'all's thoughts. James, hey man, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here. You know, over the weekend, we did a big flash sale. And we signed up a ton of new users. So hopefully some of you guys are here today. Hopefully if you signed up this weekend, let me know. I would love to chat with you and say hello, welcome you on board, and open things up for questions. You know, I know that the platform, there's a lot going on the platform. There's a ton of data there. And I know that it can be a lot to kind of go through. Especially if you're new to it, especially if you've never used it before, you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all the tools. So if you're new, if you signed up just this weekend, let me know. I would love to talk to you. If you have any questions about the platform, I am more than happy to answer those questions for you. We've got 2 hours to get as many questions answered as possible. That's what I'm here to do. So hope everybody had a good weekend. Again, if you're new to the platform, I hope that you enjoyed playing around with it this weekend. This may be your first day using the platform with the market going. So kind of exciting. So yeah, hit me if you have any questions. Please just say hello. If you're here, I see we've got some folks hanging out. If you're here, say hello. I'd love to get to know you. Love to say hello back. And yeah, I hope everybody had a good weekend. So I guess, you know, the thing that we're kind of watching today, NVDA is kind of calling the shots here for us. Here we go. What's up, y'all? Breakout plays. How's it going? Hope you're doing good. M. Corvino. How's it going? Hope you're doing good too. So now NVDA kind of hold. What's up, Gabrielle? How's it going? Hope you're good. Thanks for being here. Do appreciate it. Anybody with any questions to start? Let's go to the Qs. You know, I mean, a lot as far as tech is concerned. Obviously, NVDA is calling the shots here. Qs maybe looking like they're trying to find a little bit of a bottom. We got to remember where we came from, though. And here's the daily. This is what we talked about this weekend, or on the weekend update. We send out every weekend, actually every Friday, we send out a weekend update. Or I write a weekend update blog. I think it goes out to you guys, users, on Sunday. But every weekend we take a look at the overall markets and we see where we're at, just generally speaking, where we're at. So this is kind of something that I had noticed. You got a couple of these flat top type of situations. You got price takes a move out of the flat top, corrects. We got a couple of flat top kind of situation type here. Price makes a move out of it and then corrects. And so maybe, is that what we're seeing here? Are we going to get another move? Is this the move? Is this the move out of the flat top? And, some people may be thinking, are we going to correct another leg further? I'm not sure quite yet how I feel about these sorts of things. I'm not going to go into what I think, but it's interesting to see the kind of patterns repeating, right? We see it on the SPY. Exact same story, right? But SPY hasn't quite made it up and over those previous highs the way it did here and the way it did here. So that's kind of interesting. The Qs are quite more developed in that way than the SPY is. IWM in a very similar type of spot, kind of like the Qs. But again, big flat top, make a move out, break down. Flat top, make a move out, break down. So is this another flat top making a move out, preparing for another breakdown? I don't really know. I'm not sure if I'm quite convinced that that's going to happen yet, but it's something to kind of be mindful of. It's just a pattern. M. Corvino, thoughts on scalping? I'm going to need maybe a little bit more from you for that. What are you asking? Exactly. Like any specifics that you're looking for? If you can kind of help me understand what you're wanting to know, I might be able to answer that question a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. And let's go over that real quick. So in the scanner, I'm just going to crank this up. In the scanner, you can scan for volume a few different ways. If you click on add parameter here and you use the condition option, volume obviously is an indicator. So we're going to want to use the indicator button. Next, you're going to scan for your time frame, or you're going to select your time frame. So if you're in pre-market, this one kind of gets a little tricky. You got to think about the time frame that you want to use. Use whatever time frame you want, but just be mindful of what one you're using. Maybe in pre-market, we'll use the hourly. Next, if we type in volume here, so this is how we select the indicator that we want to use. You get a couple of different options. At the very top, you got volume, comma MA, and then volume, comma vol. So volume, comma MA is the average volume over a period of candles. We have this predefined as a 20 candle period. So this is essentially the average volume over the past 20 candles, right? Volume, comma vol is the volume on a single candle. So one very simple way of defining that the volume is above average is you can compare volume vol to volume MA, right? So you could say volume vol is greater than indicator hourly volume MA, right? So this is just saying that the volume on the current candle is greater than the average volume over the past 20. Now, it doesn't define how much greater than it is. It's just greater than. So it could literally have one share more traded than average, and it would meet this requirement. You can adjust that by clicking these three dots right here and say by at least X percent. So you could come in here and you could say by 100% or 200% or whatever percent you want. So now we're talking about, essentially, we're talking about RVol, right? We're talking about relative volume. This is a relative volume idea. Relative volume being the relationship of the amount of volume currently to the amount of volume on average, right? So this is kind of a long-winded way of creating an RVol scan. So I'm just going to talk you through like 3 different ways that you can do this, and then I'm going to ask you to play around with it and pick whatever works best for you, whatever makes most sense. So anyway, here's one option, right? You could say that the volume on the current candle is greater than the average volume over a period of candles over 20. And you can even adjust the moving average length if you want to. Like you can click on this and change this moving average length. Make it 100 if you want. Make it whatever. So now you're saying that the volume on the current candle is greater than the average over the past 100 candles, right? By at least 100%. Now, this calls into question how much volume there is in general, right? Sure, this is great. You have 2x average volume in this case, right? But what if average volume is 10 shares an hour and it did 20, right? Like that doesn't help you. So you may also want to define how much volume is occurring on average. So to do that, you would say condition, you'd say indicator, we'll go with the hourly, and we can type in volume again. I'm going to pick the MA here, and then I'm going to say is greater than a constant value. And now I'm going to input a constant value. So let's say, I don't know, on average, this thing trades at least 50,000 shares per hour. So now, not only do we know that on average it trades 50,000 shares per hour, but we also know that currently it's trading 100% more than that. So it's currently traded at least 100,000 shares, right? So now we've kind of made this scan more. We've made the results, or we've made it more difficult for a name to meet this criteria. And ultimately, that's what you want when you're running scans, right? You kind of want to get back as few names as possible. So again, adjust this to however it makes sense for you. There isn't like a right or a wrong way to do this. It's just however it makes sense for you. So that's one way to be thinking about it. Another way is using RVol. So if we say condition and we say indicator, again, I'm just going to type in hourly and then type in RVol. So remember, RVol is relative volume. It's comparing the current volume to the average. The same thing as we just did, just using a different indicator. So for this, I could say RVol greater than a constant value. If you don't know what RVol is, RVol, again, like I said, is relative volume. So let's say, for example, a stock trades 100,000 shares an hour on average. And this hour, it trades 100,000 shares. That would give it an RVol value of 1 because it is trading the same amount that it trades on average. If a stock that trades 100,000 shares on average trades 200,000 shares this hour, that would give it an RVol value of 2, right? Because it's 2x the average. So pick whatever you want here. You could say 10. RVol of 10, if you have an RVol value greater than 10, that means it's 10x average volume for the current hourly candle. Now, again, you still want to define, or you probably still want to define how much volume occurs on average. Because again, what if it only trades 10 shares on average per hour and it happened to trade 100 shares, right? That's 10x average, but that's not probably what you're looking for. So you may still want to define a minimum volume value so that you're comparing that RVol value properly. So let's do that real quick. Again, we'll say hourly. I'm going to type in volume MA is greater than a constant value of 50,000. So now what this is going to look for on the hourly time frame, it's looking for a candle essentially that is trading 500,000 shares on the hourly when it normally trades 50,000. Right, exactly. Right. You want to filter out as much as you can. Low volume. You probably want to consider filtering out even like cheap stocks, right? Penny stocks or something like that. What I call this is defining your minimums. When you're scanning, you have the thing that you're looking for, that RVol value, right? But you also want to define anything that you can that's going to weed out names that you would never trade anyway. So it could be how much volume it trades on average. It could be the price. So for example, let's say you don't trade stocks that are less than $10. Let's add that condition. So we can say price, hourly close, greater than a constant value of 10, right? So now we're only going to find stocks, or only stocks that are greater than $10 are going to come back as results in this scan. You could do all kinds of things here. You could say maybe the daily is above the 200 SMA, right? Condition, price close, price daily close, greater than, indicator, daily, simple moving average. Right? And then we could come in here and change this length to 200. So now, not only are you looking for this RVol, but also price is above $10 and it's currently above its 200-day moving average, right? And you can define, like I say, you can kind of go crazy with this. You can use 4 different time frames per scan. You can even give different sets of criteria, different definitions. So like in this particular set of 4 conditions, we have them defined as all of the following. What that means is that all of these 4 things are true. You can change that. You could say any of the following. So then any of these 4 things have to be true. Or you can say none of the following, and that means that none of these things can be true. If any of these things are true, a name will not come back. Only names that are not meeting this criteria will come back, right? But I could also add other criteria here and give it a different definition. So you notice that when I click add parameter, I have options, right? And before I was using this condition option because I wanted to add conditions to my set here. Well, if I want to, I can choose the condition group option. And when I do that, it actually gives me a new condition group, and I can utilize that group in a different way, or I can define the parameters contained within that group. I can define them in a different way. So for example, let's say any of the following, and let's say we want to add like bullish candlestick patterns or something. Because, generally speaking, you're not gonna, if you're doing bullish candlestick patterns, you're probably looking for any number of things. So I'm just gonna add a couple things here real quick. So we say condition, I'm gonna go candlestick pattern. And let's say we're looking for them on the, the 15 minute. I'm gonna do like a bullish engulfing. We'll grab that. I'll do like a doji. And I'll do a hammer. And I'm just selecting the same stuff. So now we have our 4 conditions up here. These all have to be true, and any of these have to be true. If my 4 conditions up here are true, but there are not, one of these candles down here is not forming on the 15-minute time frame, a name is not going to come back as a result, right? Does that kind of make sense to you, Ant? Hopefully that makes sense. And we've also, I just released on Sunday evening, I just released a video that goes over kind of this same idea, just like more advanced scripting techniques. It doesn't go into a bunch of different, things to scan for. It's just one basic idea, but explaining like the process of how you build it out. So now that we've got this, awesome. I'm so glad it's making sense. Now that we've got this, let's say we've got it exactly how we want it. Next thing we have to do, we have to pick our scan through list. You can choose any list here. You can't scan through multiple lists at the same time. So if you're looking for like the biggest lists that we offer, if you type in NYSE, it's going to bring up the NYSE composite. That's one of the biggest lists. If you type in NASDAQ, this NASDAQ NMS composite, also a really big one. And then if you're scanning extended hours, yeah, Ant, this will be available. You can watch this back for sure. Yeah. If you're scanning during extended hours, make sure your extended hours button is toggled on. And then you're also going to want to make sure that the current candle toggle is button is toggled on. Some folks have a little bit of difficulty understanding what the current candle toggle does. So I'm going to take like 5 minutes and talk about that real quick. And I'm going to use just some new conditions. So the way that the current candle toggle works, if you have it toggled on, it's literally looking at the current candle that's forming. So let's put in a condition here. I'm just going to say price. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to do like just a very simple moving average cross. I'm going to use the weekly time frame though. So I'm just going to grab this guy. This MA1 is crossing up on indicator weekly MA2, right? So I've got the 5 EMA is crossing up on the 20 EMA on the weekly time frame, right? Now, it's Monday. There is a weekly candle forming right now, right? But that weekly candle does not close until Friday, right? It's open all week. So if I have this current candle toggled on, it's looking for this to be true on the current weekly candle that's forming. Today is essentially today's daily, right? Because that's all we have, because it's just Monday. If I have the current candle toggled off, where is it looking for this to be true? Well, it's looking for this to be true on the most recently closed candle. So the most recently closed candle would be last week's weekly. A lot can happen in a week, right? Maybe these EMAs have crossed up today, but maybe by Wednesday they uncross and it's not true anymore. So the whole idea behind the current candle toggle is if the current candle is toggled off, then it's looking for the condition to be true on the most recently closed candle. If I have a daily condition here, whatever it is, let's say, actually, let's use a candlestick pattern, daily hammer, right? If I have the current candle toggled on, it's looking for a hammer forming today, right now. It's literally going to find candles that are names that have hammers forming today. But again, anything can change. It's, there's another hour left in the day. Anything can happen, and that candle could potentially not close as a hammer, which would, in essence, negate the signal. So you maybe are looking for hammers that occurred Friday, right? So then you'd have that current candle toggle off, and it'd be looking for hammers that occurred on the most recently closed candle. So that is Friday. Another thing to think about here, let me just show you kind of one other thing. And let's just say, let's just use like a price condition. I'm going to say, let's say we're scanning for price making higher highs, right? That would mean that the high, let's just presume the high today is greater than the high yesterday. So we're just going to use the daily time frame here. We're going to say high is greater than price daily high. So you have a daily high here, and you have a daily high here, and you're saying this one is greater than this one. But we don't have it. We don't have them really defined. We don't know what candles we're referring to. In order to understand what candle you're referring to, or to express what candle you're referring to, you want to click right here where it says last. So when you click where it says last, it comes up with 0 candles ago. So last and 0 candles ago are the same thing, and they're essentially referring to the current candle, pending the current candle toggle is on. If the current candle toggle is not on, then in this case, it would be referring to Friday's high, right? Because we don't have the current candle toggled on. If we want to compare two highs, let's say we want to compare today's high to Friday's, we have to have that current candle toggled on. This would be today's high because we have it defined as such, right? Last 0 candles ago is the same thing, and it's referring to the current candle. But then we need to define Friday. So in order to define Friday, we click where it says last, and we change this to 1 candle ago. So again, we've got the current candle toggled on. If we see last, we know that that's referring to today, or just the current candle, whatever time frame you have chosen. But in this case, we have the daily, so that's today's high, is greater than the high 1 candle ago. 1 candle ago is Friday. So that's how you would define different days. And you can, of course, you could change this. You could say today's high is greater than 10 candles ago, or 50 candles ago, or whatever. It's all about kind of what makes sense for you and what particularly you're looking for. So hopefully that kind of clears some things up for you. I'm happy to kind of talk you through any other questions that you have about this. But I also just want you to know down here in the bottom right-hand corner where it says contact us, this is a direct feed into our employee chat room. We have live people in chat Monday through Sunday. So Monday through Friday, about 21 hours per day. And then on the weekends, about 8 hours per day. So there's almost always someone around in chat that can help you. So for example, like if I'm live, you're welcome to ask me and I can help you. I can help write things out or whatever. But if I'm not around, if nobody's around to answer or nobody's live where you can ask like this, ask them to help you. And you could literally come there with like, I'm trying to figure out how to write a script for XYZ conditions and I can't figure it out. They can help you write it. As well, if you click on your name in the top right-hand corner and you scroll down to where it says schedule training, you won't see it on my side. It's you just won't see it because I'm an employee. I don't need a training. But on your side, you'll see it. And if you click on that schedule training, it'll take you to a calendar and you'll get set up for a live one-on-one session with the guys who hang out and chat. So 45-minute long one-on-one. It's free. You can ask whatever questions you want about the platform. And you can really, if you need multiple sessions, you can sign up for multiple sessions. We're here to help you. That's what it's all about. So Oh yeah, Alexander, man, he's great. He's in the Ukraine, so that's his daytime. But that's great. I'm glad that you've been utilizing chat. I'm glad that they were able to help you out. And again, like I said, feel free to reach out to them anytime you have any questions. They're always around to answer those questions, and I'm around too. You can hit me up. You see my down here in the bottom of the screen, kind of like, oh no, like right there. You see my Twitter handle. Feel free to add me on Twitter. I'm happy to answer questions on Twitter as well. So yeah. That's what I got for you. What did I miss while I was explaining that? M. Corvino, would the MACD with RSI be good for scalping? Well, anything can be potentially good for scalping. It's really just a matter of, understanding what those indicators do, and taking the time, spending the time with them to understand how a particular name tends to react. Different names react differently at different times. So, and they react differently to different indicators. But sure, yeah, I mean, all indicators are going to work sometimes. That's kind of the thing about indicators, that they're all going to work sometimes. They're all going to give bad signals sometimes. I think the trick is to kind of pick the indicators that you want to use and then just kind of be consistent with using them. I do watch RSI for sure. It's definitely something that I pay attention to. Do I let it influence my trades? Usually not. I'm usually not making a trade based off specifically what RSI says. I just think it can be a little confusing to do that. It just hasn't ever really worked for me just using RSI. But, especially even on like small time frames, I'll use it quite a bit just to kind of see if there are any divergences between price. As far as MACD, I've never really used MACD personally in my trading. I know quite a few traders that do. But it's just one that I never really got around to using for myself. I'm kind of more of a price action trader. So again, what I would be using MACD for is just to kind of get a general sense of where we are within a trend. Ooh, color code for my background. Let me hit you with that. This is the TS color code. There you go, sir. Francisco, your UVXY calls, hoarding weeks, about to start paying up. All right, man. Stoked for you on that. It was a risky little play, but I'm glad that it's working out for you. Yeah, so as far as recommendations on indicators for scalping, I don't really have a huge recommendation. We just added a pretty cool little indicator to the platform called the TW Pivot that I've been seeing traders using. This is the Theta Warrior Pivot. Let me add it and show you kind of what's going on with it. The thing that folks seem to like about it is the fact that it just gives a very clear signal. Now, the signal is not always right on, right? Like, just like any indicator, just because you get a signal on an indicator does not necessarily mean that it's time. But if we zoom in here on this thing, so this is the Theta Warrior Pivot. And you'll notice kind of there's a lot going on here, but ultimately the big things that we're looking for are these bars, the green bar and the red bar. It's kind of like a shaded column. Whenever you see that green shaded column, that's generally a buy signal. Whenever you see the red shaded column, that's generally meant to be a sell signal. Now, again, like I said, we can see very clearly here, these are not perfect signals. This signal came pretty near the bottom, and it's really gained quite a bit since. You would have had to have taken a little bit of heat on this. It did pull back into those previous lows, so something to keep a mind of. But here you had a sell signal, and we did not really sell off. Again, you have a sell signal here, and you caught a nice little move right here. Sell signal here, and this didn't really sell off. So one thing to keep your eye on is the oscillator. So if we look at the oscillator, you'll notice that when you get a signal the oscillator will change color. See how it's green, 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 and then it turns red here. If that oscillator switches back to the color that it was before it changed, if it switches back really quickly, it's generally going to be a negated signal. So that's just something to keep an eye on. That would at least, at the very least, that would get you out of the trade much more quickly before realizing that it's a negated signal. So this one, we had a decent move here, and the indicator stayed red. Once it switched, it stayed switched for some time. So something, just kind of like a smaller thing to keep your eye on if you do want to use this. There is a video about this. Let me see if I can find it. I will link you to it, because Theta uses this on the 5 and the 15, I believe. I don't know what time frames you're using for scalping, but let me get you a link to this video real quick. Here it is.
Have you ever heard of the Bentley method?
There you go. So, Ant, I would watch this. If you haven't watched this already, give this a once over, because he kind of goes over quite a bit. He talks through how he uses it. I think you just, I think you want to be looking for that oscillator to really hold its tone. You can see kind of in here, you had a lot of inconsistency in the oscillator on the move up into the sell signal. And then you even have inconsistency out of it too. So you really want to see like a consistent color into the sell or into the buy signal. And then a consistent color out of the buy or sell signal. Okay, cool. So you watched it. Awesome. It's a pretty cool little indicator. Like I said, I'm kind of more of a price action trader, and I've really been focused on that style for some time. So for me, I'm trying to keep more and more stuff off of my charts than adding indicators. But I've heard a lot of people using this. Another kind of interesting indicator is the Go No Go. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Go No Go, but it's one that we added to the platform not too long ago. Let me turn it on real quick. So what's kind of cool about Go No Go is that it automatically paints on your chart for you the kind of the quality of the trend, or where we kind of are at in the trend. I'm not sure what the secret sauce of indicators is for this particular indicator, but it's got a lot of trend tracking indicators contained within it. When particular indicators are meeting certain criteria, that will cause the colors of the candles to change. And you'll see there's 5 different colors here. We got a purple color, a light pink color, an orange color, a light green, and then a blue. And so those all represent different segments of trend, or different strengths of trend. When it's purple, that's going to be a strong no-go trend, meaning essentially you should just not be attempting to go long during a strong no-go. Then there's pink, which is a weak no-go. So still in a no-go, still shouldn't be really going long. But the strength of the weakness is declining, right? So it's becoming progress a little bit stronger. The orange is kind of like this could go either way. It's kind of like a neutral reading. So you'll get that in times of indecision. And then the green is a light, or like a weak go. So maybe start slowly scaling in. And then blue is a strong go, meaning that all all of the conditions for a strong trend are in alignment, for a strong go trend are in alignment. And so you get this blue color. So the blue color is kind of like if you're bullish, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the trend to be strong in the go world. And then if you're bearish, you're looking for the trend to be strong on the no-go side. So this is kind of a cool one, and I like it because, I don't have a bunch of indicators on my chart kind of keeping me from being able to see what's going on with price action. Since I am a price action trader, I kind of need to be able to see what's going on with price action. And so I think this is kind of a cool one. And I know quite a few people have been using it. So it's something to pay attention to, too. It can kind of give you a bit of an idea of what's going on under the hood without having your RSI and these sorts of things all turned on. Another thought, honestly, if you're using the 1 minute, you should have VWAP on your charts, I would say, pretty much at all times. VWAP is a really, really easy one to kind of understand. And it's just something you should probably always know where price is in relation. Of course, you can use just the standard VWAP indicator. Let me add that. It's going to look like that. Let me take off this guy real quick too. Of course, if price is above your VWAP, then that's generally a little bit more bullish. Your average buyer for the day is in the money. Price is below your VWAP, then of course that's more bearish. Your average buyer for the day is losing on the trade. Anchored VWAP is one that I use too. We could talk about that if you're interested in it. Best is to locate candle covers more than 3 candles. Now parent candle top bottom is more important. Sonia, yeah, I mean that's like a big bullish engulfing candle. You could certainly look for that. You could scan for that if you wanted to. Be pretty easy to do. If you're looking for the current candle's high is greater than the past 3 or something, you could say price close greater than price close 1 candle ago. Or actually, let me make this high. Right? You could also then say daily price high greater than price daily high. We'll make this 2. We'll make this 1. And then price high greater than price daily high. Make this 3. Oops. So now you've got today's highs greater than the past 3. You could do this for lows too if you wanted to look for engulfing. Today's low less than 1 candle ago low, less than 2 candle ago low, less than 3 candle ago low. If you're looking for some big engulfing candle. Ben, what's up, man? Hope you're doing good. Good to see you here. Oh, Sonia. I remember you from Wednesday. Sonia with the perfect targets. Where are we going next, Sonia? Do the volume bars on the bottom include dark pool volume? That's a good question. I don't believe that they do. But I would imagine that they're updated slowly too. I'll have to ask about that. You've perplexed me, Neil. I don't know. Let me ask. I'll ask and I'll hit you back with an answer on that. Let me see. Yeah, Neil, it might be a minute before I can get you an answer on that, but I will. I've asked, and I'll circle back if I hear back from our dev. Britsu, what's up? Madukar, what's up? I just use the standard VWAP. I mean, for just hanging out during the day, if I'm looking at really small time frames, 1 minute, 5 minute, what have you, I'm just going to use, just the standard VWAP because it's going to reset every day. So it's not really like it's not taking into account a moving average. Oh, Ben, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you took it easy. Had a restful weekend. Now, I do use anchored VWAP a lot. We were talking about it kind of at the start of this session, but anchored VWAP is one that I'm always paying attention to, and you can create an anchored VWAP on any candle by right-clicking on that candle. When you right-click on a candle, you get all these options. And so if you click Create Alpha Trends Anchored VWAP. So there is, Robert, there are lots of different philosophies about the best places, best practices for anchored VWAP. Me personally, I'm always looking for kind of major highs and major lows relative to the time frame that I'm trading. Like right now, we're coming up on anchored VWAPs from all-time highs, right? So we have essentially that March high, late March, early April on a lot of names. That's been the one that kind of I've had my eye on. Well, we gained it about 2 weeks ago. We back tested it, sort of, haven't really, but we gained it and we're holding above it. So for me, it's not as important anymore, right? Because we've gained it and we're holding above it. So then I'm going to look for kind of the next logical place. And for me, next logical place is all-time highs. I suppose you could anchor from this guy too. And here we are today, right at it. But now that we're kind of up and over this the March high, I'm just anchoring from all-time highs now because I feel like we're so close to that anyway. We might find our way back there. We've kind of toyed around with it, quite a bit, kind of in here as well, and I guess technically right here too. So it could come back. I don't think it'd be much I don't think it'd be much of a surprise to see price find its way back into the all-time high anchored VWAPs on a lot of these symbols. Qs, here's the high, all-time high in the Qs. And you can kind of see where it's played some role, it was able to get over it here. But then when it came into it here, it did close over it for a couple days, ultimately failed. And now we are where we are. So, 336 on the Qs. It's totally doable, I think. Back into these highs, back up and above these highs, kind of jibes with where we lost here, where we broke down in there. So it would totally make sense, I think. Find its way back. Gone fan. I have not used the Gone fan yet. Gan fan? Is it Gone fan or Gan fan? Maybe it's Gan fan. Just looking at the Qs here, just seeing what's going on the daily. Looks like we made a new daily low about 20-30 minutes ago, probably right around 12:55 for me. Gan fan. I don't know anything about Gan fan. Never even heard of it. So any other platform related questions from anybody now that we've been here for a little while? We've kind of been talking shop. If no more platform related questions, happy to take any chart requests or kind of just look at anything you guys are wanting to look at. Add the pitchfork indicator. I don't know. I don't see why we wouldn't. Britsu, what I would do, my friend, click on your name and go to request a feature. And then just fill this out. So I guess this would be maybe a an other. This is like a pitchfork drawing tool, right? Oh no, pitchfork indicator. Okay, you did request it. Great. All right, Ant. You take care, man. Thanks for being here. I'm glad you were able to tune in. It's great. AMD. What's up with AMD? I'll go to the weekly first. AMD still a week no go. Let me add some things back here. Just kind of want to see where some indicators are, what some indicators are doing. Kind of getting tied up at, what is this? This is the 50 EMA today. Oh, this is the weekly. Oops, my bad, sorry. Yeah, so the 200 EMA kind of coming into play, was able to gain it and has failed below it. We're getting close to a potential sell signal here on the TW pivot, so that's something to think about. I mean, my initial gut instinct, if we just go to price action, whether or not it's actually going to happen, I had my eyeballs way down here at like 55 bucks. And the reason why is because it broke these lows. Now, it could have just been liquidity hunting, you know, take out all these stops. That's definitely what happened. They took out all these stops here on this particular monthly candle. But what we've done is we've come into here, essentially, those previous highs where we lost. Yeah, kind of right there. Almost perfect. It has failed. So then what I would be doing is I'd be looking for kind of levels lower that we haven't really quite gone back to see if they'll hold. I mean, we are relatively extended, I think. Let's see where we at here. From the lows 4 weeks ago, we are up 45%. It's a pretty big move if you bought that low. So anchor this. Turn some stuff off here. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of in line with what I was personally looking for. I'm looking for maybe a move back into this. Just because we haven't really come back there yet. Sorry, guys. It's kind of where my head would be at. See if it aligns with anything. Yeah, it could end up aligning with your 100 SMA. It's kind of an interesting change of trend, though. You know, we failed below it back in February. We failed it in June, and now we've managed to gain it and test it and hold it. So the next leg, if we don't get this pullback here, the next area, I would be looking for it. If I were long and looking to take profit, I'd be looking for a move up and over these highs for the exact same reason like we talked about there on the monthly, how price came down and essentially took out all these lows here, right? Take out all the lows, you have a bunch of stops here, a bunch of people who are long that had stops here. They just stopped all of them out and then turned it back. I would anticipate kind of the same sort of thing up here. So if you get a move into 110, that doesn't mean it won't continue going higher. You do have this gap here. So that's something to think about. And it's kind of untested too. So 118 to 120 could also be a spot. But I would love to see a pullback. I mean, even be pretty dramatic, but even back into like 80 would be pretty interesting to me. But who knows if we'll get it. Who knows when we'll get it also. If it comes at all, you know, doesn't mean price never moves in a straight line, or very rarely. Yeah, Britsu, so you're looking up here. You're looking for them to take maybe, yeah, I mean, that would make sense too, right? Like, you've got this pivot low here, so you know that there are a bunch of stops just below it. So I could see that if we go down to like a day, hourly or something. I could definitely see that. Take out this low because it's your main pivot low. It's your nearest pivot low. Take it out. Maybe they bring it down into the anchored VWAP. Maybe by the time they do that, the anchored VWAP has kind of slowly found its way higher, right? Something like that. I don't know. But yeah, for sure. I could see that. UPST, or Tesla, rather. Tesla filling the gap. Ooh, this could be spicy. You have to watch and see if they hold here, because that could be a buy. I mean, they filled it almost to the penny, huh? Go down to the 5-minute. Yeah. Interesting. Let's go to the daily here. See what's going on the daily. I mean, same kind of thing on the daily though for me. I'm looking at where they kind of have lost it or where they haven't come back to test. So, you know, that could, I would say a first spot would be kind of here. If we anchor a VWAP, probably gets us about there. Yeah. So you see, I'm always using these anchored VWAPs. They're always giving me an idea of where my average buyer is from any point. So this is kind of interesting, right? This kind of jives. You have your March high. You've got your kind of your main pivot low. Your last main pivot low, I guess. I could definitely see it coming back into this like 800 to 830 range for sure. Just depends. Again, it always depends on your time frame. Mind your time frames. What did they do? They didn't quite make it to this high. And they just barely made it to this one. Yeah, I would kind of anticipate a little bit lower here. 830 to 800. Kind of be where my head's at on it. UPST. UPST in an interesting spot today. Seems like maybe we've talked about this before. That blue line is at the all-time low. So, of course, you'd want to see that hold. You do not want to be making new all-time lows. That wouldn't be great. And then I had this marked, kind of these previous, where price had kind of previously had found support right here and right here. We get rejected, and it gets rejected here and here, and now it's gaining. So did they have like earnings or something today? Yeah, they did. Do they have today? Did it already happen? Actually, I could just look here. 132% to after jumping around 46% on Friday. Company recently said it expects unaudited comprehensive loss of 1.6 million. So they haven't had earnings yet. Companies reporting before the bell, so they have had earnings. I don't know. I'm not sure if they've had earnings, but clearly they've gained a pivotal spot, right? Because it was support here and here. They lost it, and then it was failing here and here, and now they have gained it. So then you're looking for kind of levels higher. I would also, in this particular instance, I would do that, and this is an important one too. All right, anchored VWAP from the big gap down. This represents where your average buyer is just within this price action. And where did we pause today? Right there. So it's going to be an important level, that 35.25 level. That's going to be real important. 35.5 rather. Okay, so they haven't reported yet. They report today after the market. I mean, we could throw it up. When the market closes, remind me and we'll throw it up and watch it. I'd be curious to know kind of where it goes. I mean, this thing is obviously beat up. That it's getting rejected at the anchored view app here would concern me a little. Doesn't necessarily mean that it won't gain, but this would concern me. You know, you always want it. You want your average buyer to be in the money, right? Like, just generally speaking. And this is such a pivotal point. This big gap down. It kind of, for me, it almost represents like a new day one. You know, everything changed. So I don't know what happened this day, but earnings, of course, and everything changed fundamentally. So high open interest at the 20 put. Let's take a look at it. Yo, look at these. The 25 put. Look at this. Crazy repeat action on the 25s. And the 30s. Yeah, this is almost more interesting. The 33.5. My vision is terrible. $373,000 worth of open, or rather $373,000 premium on this trade. The 33.5 put for August 12th expiry. This week is $1 million. Well, this is a third of $1 million, almost $500,000 bet. Expiring at the end of this week. 5,700% of the open interest. That's a lot. That's a big. That to me seems like a pretty conviction type of play. It came in about an hour ago, looks like. That's an interesting one. I guess we'll just see. On the same side, let's see here. These are the August 19 call, 30 call. And that's also a pretty big trade, $349,000 premium. But it's a very small amount of the open interest. Whenever you have these big open interest percentages, it always kind of piques my interest. Just because it's such a, you know, it's like kind of an people aren't really trading this particular strike, you know? But this person is. And why are they? The 33.5s. Yeah, we'll watch it. We'll definitely watch it here in a half hour. We'll throw this back up. WBD missed and shifting it. Think you go long under 13.5. Let's see. WBD. Warner Bros. Oh, yeah. I mean, we said this was nasty, right? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know about going long at all. I would be more inclined to short into a pop. What's the point of going long on this? I guess is my question. Like, why do you want to go long? I mean, I don't see any support until you're about here. And that is a long way away, percentage-wise. I mean, maybe they'll hold it. They kind of already did. So here's your low, right? Your at least relative low. And then if you draw from around that low, they made a move higher, pulled back, and held it. And now they're making it, and then they made another move. So you could, in theory, kind of draw somewhere in here. You know, my first instinct would be here, but maybe here too. And they are kind of holding that. I don't know. If you want to go long this, be my guest, but it just seems quite sketchy. Here's your anchored VWAP from these lows, and you're trading below it. I don't think I'd be willing to go long until you were up and over this. Because you do, I mean, these people just took a 25% haircut, people that were buying on Friday. You know, if you can gain this anchored VWAP 1466, then maybe you have a shot. If you're trying to go long here, I mean, I don't know. You kind of have I don't know. Maybe I'd be looking at like 13, 12. Because if you go long here and they go and it goes against you, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to aim for this. And they're going to take out stops here, and then maybe they turn it back. Maybe. I mean, it's possible. I don't know, man. I think there's way better fish in the sea. Yeah, Britzy, right. Don't catch a falling knife. I think there's way better fish in the sea. Why go long on this when you could go long something that actually is showing strength and looks good? Gabriel Neo. Yeah, Neo's still failing at the anchored VWAP from that near-term high, July 27th. What'd Baba do today? Baba had earnings, right? Whenever I'm thinking about any Chinese stocks, I'm always wanting to look at what the biggest ones are doing. Yeah, okay, so they had earnings, and they dumped. This is actually kind of coming into a potential level of interest here. But it's not looking great for Baba. If we go to FXI, what is FXI looking like? Looks like they filled this little gap here, and they've turned it the opposite direction. Maybe we can get another move back into 28 from FXI. FXI trading below its anchored VWAP from its March lows. So that's not great. You don't want to see that. You really want it trading above. Yeah, so like my way of thinking is, you want to know relatively speaking, Neo looks great in comparison to either of those two names we just looked at, FXI or Baba, which, I don't know what you would anticipate there. I would kind of anticipate that it would look similar, and it looks a lot better. So that tells me one of two things could be the case. It's either quite stronger, or it's just lagging, and it's going to get hit too. I don't know which one's going to happen. They've got earnings here on the 19th, so you got a little bit of time on those. Quite a few untested areas here. There's a lot that this thing could retrace. I'm not saying it will. There's a lot that it could. But you do have a lot that it could gain too, right? I mean, you have this gap up here at $28. That'd be a heck of a move, 20 to 28. I don't know. I don't know enough about Neo I think you kind of got to know a bit about the company to have some opinions about it. I know that a lot of folks like it. I mean, Jake was talking about this not too long ago on our live stream. You are trading up and over the anchored VWAP from this gap down. Pretty important spot. So that's interesting to see. Let's see. And you're getting, so you've got a lot of moving, so this is kind of interesting. You do have a lot of major moving averages kind of all coalescing into one little area. So yeah, you're getting, the price action is tightening, right? So it's all about how this ends up resolving ultimately. Let's look at something else too. The tighter price action gets, the more these moving averages get wound up. The more they get wound up, the more likelihood for a strong move in one direction or another. Actually, let's just go to a lower time frame, see what's going on. Yeah, you can see where I had targets. I had targets at 16 bucks. Whether or not it gets there, who knows? It's a tricky, this price action is quite tricky. It's so gappy. I don't know. I think regardless, what I would want to see at the very least, I'd want to see price up and over the anchored VWAP from this near-term high. That would give me a little bit more confidence. Because right now, you just got sellers up there, you know? They're just people who are trapped. And then you have this one from the March high. Or no, I'm sorry, this is the November high. So on the November high, we came right into it and failed. And they even tested it again too, right? You know, they tested it here, and then we gained it and immediately failed it, and then they tested it again here and failed it. So these two areas, 21 and then 22.9, I mean, you just got a lot of sellers here, so just be mindful of that if you're bullish. Really kind of want to see price up and over. It may not find its way up and over until this earnings day. It could just kind of chop in and around this range between 19.5 and 22 3/4, 23 bucks. It could chop for, you know, another week and a half. It's possible. Amazon, right? I mean, so Amazon surprised me. I was thinking that price action, these 3 days right here, I was thinking that this was going to be an instant move to the downside, and we did not get it. Instead, we gained. And now we're essentially holding that high, right? If this was your previous high right here. Oh no. The weird chatbot thing's back. So now we're holding it. These things are so weird. I don't understand what these weird spammy things are, but so what I would do, first thing I would do is anchored VWAP from the gap up. We're still holding that, so your average buyer from that gap up is still in the money on it. You've got your anchored VWAP from all-time highs. That's about here. Trading just above, so average buyer from all-time highs still stuck. I think that we're going to come back into and fill this gap. I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when. And, you know, who knows when. If the indices stay weak, then we could see it this week, you know. Certainly could happen. I'm not saying that the indices are going to stay weak, but for now, excuse me, guys. For now, this is going to be trouble, right? A couple places that are going to be trouble. That anchored VWAP from the high. You have this where we failed right here around 150, which aligns nicely. 150 would be a decent psychological place for it to stall too. I think ultimately we're going to come back in and test this 127. Somewhere between 122 and 127. That's kind of what I think. Yeah, Nightbot coming in. Taking care of business. Shrivan. What's up, Shrivan? Thanks for being here. PLTR. Let's take a look at it. Ooh. Earnings got hit, huh? So they came up into one of our levels, it looks like. I don't know when I drew these, but he had a bunch of levels drawn, spots where price could react, and they came up into this one, and it reacted. It's kind of nasty, huh? Big gap down, lots of volume. So now we might be looking for places where price wants to find some support. I mean, that anchored VWAP from the gap down makes a lot of sense. And that is at, what is this, 890. Excuse me. Kind of would be interesting too if they got your low here. If they came and kind of just undercut this low, you probably have a bunch of people who have stops below it. It's right in here. They could, you know, I mean, I'm not, I guess I am one to speculate, but, you know, they could come just below it and then turn it back, fill that gap, maybe. I would be watching to see what happens here. I probably wouldn't be willing to go long just yet, although this would be like, you know, on a day trade side. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know. That's tricky. I don't think I would mess with this long yet. But I would see what they do. If they come into this low and they take it out, that might be kind of interesting, especially if they give this a couple of days. And what I mean by that is if they give it a couple of days to play out, you know, kind of chop around in here. Something like that. I don't know exactly what it would look like, but like if they end up taking it out, what that might also then do is give the anchored VWAP time to catch up. Be cool to see. So that would be my headspace on it. I wouldn't touch this long until we got maybe a definitive move away from this low here. Let them take out stops below that low. Madhukar, I can't stop it. I don't know what it is. I'll ask my producer to look into it and see if there's anything we can do to stop that. But I kind of don't think that we can. But I'll ask. Yeah, no problem, Shravan. Again, I could be wrong. Like, I don't know. Let me, how did their earnings do? Printing mixed second quarter financial results. Worse than expected earnings. Yeah, but what were they? Okay, here we go. Sees quarter 3 sales 474 to 475 million versus the 506 million estimate. Shares down 13%. Man, they missed by 25 mil and they're down 15%. That seems excessive, doesn't it? Missed by 3 cents. Oh, no. Earnings were 1 cent and they were, estimate was 3 cents. But the sales were a beat? That's kind of confusing, huh? Yeah, Britsu, I mean, I know our founder Dan is hugely bullish on PLTR. People who understand what they do are really bullish on them. But I think, like, for the most part, a lot of people don't understand what they do. Myself, I would include myself in the group of people who don't know what Palantir does. Aside from they have lots of information that they sell to the U.S. government, right? Alex, I don't know, man. I'm not a crystal ball. Let price action lead the way. Shravan Spy. Yeah, SPY in a tricky spot here. So you have your high right here that we really needed to get over. Like you really want to see price get up and over this. Really don't want to see them fail it here. If you're bullish, you really want to see it gain. On the Qs, we gained some days ago. And with haste, right? Like we gained pretty strong. We closed above. We held above for a day. We almost lost it here, and then they gave us the big rip. This is a nice fake out because this was looking pretty toppy, right? If you couldn't see any of this, you might think this was pretty toppy. So my thinking was, obviously Qs were leading. My thinking was that SPY is going to follow. Now, does it follow now? Does it need to pull back? Go back to somewhere that it hasn't really come back to yet? You know, we talked a lot over the past couple of weeks about this whole section in here, this consolidation, accumulation area. And you kind of had that level, right? You had that high that we couldn't quite get above. And then we get above it, and we came back to it and tested it. We held, and we went higher. Well, now we have kind of another little area in here that we have not come back to. So maybe before we can get above this distribution area, maybe before we get above that, we need to come back in. The 398, even maybe like 396, 394, somewhere in here. Maybe we need to come back into some of this and test and make sure that all of this down here is going to hold. So that's kind of my short-term thinking, is if we can get up and over, that tells me something. I mean, that would be SPY gaining a pretty pivotal high that it hasn't been able to get yet. And whether it does that now or it pulls back and then does it, we'll have to wait and see. It even did on IWM too. So the Qs in IWM are quite ahead. You know, this is like the same spot. IWM gained it today and holding above it. Excuse me. Qs gained, holding above. I would think that SPY would follow. You know, why is SPY lagging? Don't really know. But it is. But the amount of times that this area up here has been tested, I would anticipate if we get a move up and over it, it could potentially be kind of strong. MA for Vedant. This is a choppy mess, huh? I hate charts that look like this. Let's go to the monthly. Another choppy mess. All right, so on monthly, I'm always anchoring off the COVID low. Always. That's your big, nasty... Actually, I guess it's right here. Oops, my bad. So, currently above that. It's good to see. Means everybody who's bought since the COVID low is essentially on the money on this. That's what you want. One thing to think about with credit cards, and I don't know if this is absolutely true, but it's something that I would think about, is what are banks doing? How are banks looking? And how is the dollar looking? And I would want to know the relationship, the correlation between banks and dollar and credit cards. This one's really tough, actually. I mean, this is a weekly. So choppy. It's just really hard to like get levels, but you've got this high, you've got a lower high, You got potentially a lower high being put in this week. Potentially. Doesn't mean that it is. But then you got a low and then a lower low. This is kind of tricky. This low against this low. Let me do something real quick. You know, while I'm looking at this, one thing I will say, when it comes to, when you look at a chart and you don't instantly see something that is like, yeah, I see that, you know, like you don't instantly have that sense of knowing, probably better to move on. So I would be hard pressed to want to trade this. Coming into these highs, these previous highs, and we're failing. We have technically made a new low, comparatively speaking, this low versus this one. So we've made quite a few new lows. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love it. I would maybe be looking for somewhere in here. It was a lot of looking to kind of come to the gap. I'd be looking for somewhere in here, I think. A pullback. Now, if they are to get above this high, then that would suggest that would be kind of interesting, right? We haven't really been able to make a I guess really it's kind of this one. This one's kind of the more pivotal one. Yeah, if you can get up and over 368, you might be targeting 381, 382. But let's see from the all-time high here. Yeah, so we're tinkering around with that anchored VWAP. I don't know. Every time it gets near this all-time high anchored VWAP over the past months, it's really kind of the strength above it has declined, right? Like here, we were quite strong above it, and then we were kind of strong above it, and then we were strong above it, and now we're like piddling out almost is what it feels like. And I don't know. I don't love this right here. If they can make some new highs, either off these or off this, it would be more interesting to me. But here, it just looks like it's kind of failing. And if it fails, then we might be finding our way back to that gap below. Coinbase. Yeah, so to answer your question, is MA a short, Vedant? I would be inclined to say yeah. Shervan, my name is Jason, just so you know. I'm Jason. I'm not Jake. Oops. Yeah, with VIX, I don't really mess too much with VIX personally. I mean, for me, if this were any old chart, it would be at a buy spot for me. But VIX is unique. VIX is a little different. But I drew this line at some point, maybe last week sometime. You know, now you made a low, and potentially we maybe have just taken the stops out of that low here on the past two candles. These guys, you know, here's your low. I would definitely have a stop below, kind of like below here. So very defined risk. 21 bucks would be my line in the sand. I would not be long the VIX below 21 personally. Sure thing, man. No problem. Puts on SQQ. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have felt... Yeah, all right, so... Look at my lines. I don't know. I don't think this is the place to be taking puts on SQQQ. Can it go lower? Sure, of course it can. But is this the time? I don't know. So I don't know when I drew these lines, but we're finding some action. Calls on SQQQ. Yeah, so like, right. This is your relative defined risk time. You do have this gap. I just don't know. Where's the Q's at right now? Because they did this already, right? They kind of faked us out a little bit with this. They made a new high. And then looked like they were going to reverse it and then sent it. Yeah, this is where we get into like the chess of trading. Levels are one thing, but like what are they going to do with those levels when those levels come, or if those levels come? It's always so hard to know. You have these highs up here. That's an obvious target. 330 and change. Like, what's the sentiment? What's the sentiment on the CPI report? Does Joe Schmo think it's going to come in hotter than expected? Do you think it's going to come in cooler than expected? The Jerome Powell has already said, or I've been reading what 75 bips hike for the next one. Presumably, is what the market's kind of pricing in. Oh no, the bots are back. Sorry, y'all. And they keep changing the little emojis so that they can keep sending new ones. Crazy. That's how that works. CPI was at 9, and the next one should be at 8.7. Expecting cooler. Yeah, so, all right. So everybody's expecting cooler. In theory, if it's cooler, the market should rip, right? Because, hey, inflation. It's not as bad anymore. Yeah, so maybe it could. I mean, maybe the markets sell off through until Wednesday, and then they gain, or maybe they gain through Wednesday and then they sell off. What's max pain? What catches the most traders off sides? I'm going to go back real quick because we were talking about UPST. I want to see what their earnings do, so I'm going to throw this on up. If there are other earnings plays here into after hours, hit me up. Let me know. We'll keep our eye on them for this last half hour of our session today. Sell off after Wednesday is max pain. You think so? Do you think enough traders are bulled up? You think enough people think that the bottom's in? I always try and think in max pain terms. What's going to catch the most people off sides? What move, a move in what direction is going to catch the most people off sides? And that might help me kind of plot and plan. How are they closing? I'm going to just go back to the Qs real quick because I want to see how they're closing them. So the Qs looking pretty darn rough today. They could not really gain back anything. Just all lower lows and all lower highs. Pretty nasty. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's we're coming into pretty pivotal areas on SPY. We've kind of gained pivotal areas on the Qs and on IWM. I still think it's so strange that SPY hasn't followed. I would expect SPY to be a little bit farther progressed than it is. I don't know. I don't know what I think. Interesting. I see my buddy, Aaron Bry. I see his name on the side of my screen right now. Funny. Yeah, sometimes when I find that when I have a really strong opinion about what's going to happen next, it usually bites me more often than it helps me. So I don't know. I think the trick is just to let Wednesday play out and don't position yourself too strongly in either direction. Because if you get a move, you're always going to have an opportunity. Like price very likely will come back into some sort of level that was like important. And that's really the time to take the trade. It's not like the time to take the trade is not the anticipatory pre the announcement or pre the anything. Like let the market react and then come in after the reaction has happened. UPST is halted. Interesting. I was wondering why it wasn't moving. Well, while it's halted, let's go and see TTD real quick. Huh. All right, so yeah, TTD kind of following the same path as the Qs. So yeah, I mean, if you're bullish, this is kind of what you wanted to see, at least to, well, so tricky. It made a new high, but it immediately rejected it. Yeah, they're just getting into these areas that are just tricky. Anchored high or anchored VWAP from all-time high puts you at 63.78. I mean, that they made a new high is cool. If you're long, it's what you want to see. Would love to see it back into this. I guess it kind of tested that, didn't it? Where did this thing come from? Where are we at? Here. Huh. Wow. Look at that. COVID low anchored VWAP to the penny. Today's high. Almost to the penny. Some black magic. I mean, this is a really, really critical spot, isn't it? Support here. Support here. Broke below it. Made a new low, suggesting it was going to go lower. It came back, tested old highs, failed, and did just that. Went lower. Now we've held a low, and now we're making a new high. All right. So yeah, my head would be at like right in here. You get a pull back into like 48 bucks. Probably a decent opportunity. Does it jive with an anchored view app? It probably will in time. Let's go back. See, it's interesting how, like, you know, you could look at something on one time frame and not know what the heck is going on, but then look at it on a different time frame and go, oh, yeah, okay, I see. It's really, really important to look at lots of time frames. Always know what's going on across multiple time frames. So that can really, really help influence how you're thinking about things. Start high, work your way lower. Let's see, VRM. What's up, Jordan? Thanks for being here. What is this? Vroom? Man. I don't know. I wouldn't touch this. Looks like it's got something going on after hours. Does it have earnings? Yeah, it has earnings today. I don't know. Charts that look like this just looks terrible. I mean, it's a huge base for sure. Huge base. If we anchor from that big gap down candle, we are trading above the anchor view app. Fundamental change in trend, you know, we're able to get up and over it. Might want to see it come back and test it. You've got some levels. This guy in here, $3, and then you got this guy up here, $5. It may never get there though, or you know, it could go to 100. Like we've seen stocks that look like this do crazy things, but I would file this under the category of like, why would I trade this when I could trade something that actually looks pretty good? Unless you just have some sort of deep fundamental belief about what the company does, you know, hard for me to want to trade this at all. TTCF, the tattooed chef, right? Yeah. Coming into a tricky spot. Rejected off of these highs, right? Anchored VWAP from March high. Up and over it. We have earnings here. Were they pre-market? This is another one I would file under the why would I touch this category. I mean, sure, it's given a great move from $6 to $9. You know, went 50% in 5 days. I would let that thing cool off. If it's a legit move, you're going to get a retest of somewhere. In here, $7, or here, $7.40, or all the way back down here, $6.20. Like, you're gonna get a retest back into this, so that's what I would wait for. Let it do its thing. Let it grind higher. If it's gonna, the more highs it takes out, the more likely it is. I think it's gonna come back in and test previous areas where it left from. There's your anchored VWAP from your all-time low here at 676. Yeah, that's what I would do on TTCF here, Chris. I would chill, let it grind higher if it's gonna, and then let it pull back. Is UPST still halted? Halted down. Still nothing though. All right, NVAX. Mr. Chris. Yo, these charts don't look so great. Well, all right. So on the monthly, kind of interesting. Do you see what I see on the monthly? It's not super clean, but it's pretty much what they did, right? So somewhere in there would be kind of like a line in the sand for me. 46, 45. Somewhere thereabouts is kind of a first something to keep your eye on. Interesting. Yo, wow. This thing went to $80. This thing went 33 to 80 in 4 days. 35 to 80 in 4 days. Oh no, 4 weeks. Didn't realize what time frame I was on. Okay, so then I would do that. Anchor a VWAP from those near-term lows. I wonder what happened. What happened on the 14th? Do you know? Let's see if I can find something. Curious what happened on the 14th. That's a huge volume day, and that's a big down bar. I don't know. On this, and they've got earnings today too. Huh? Did they already announce? Or was that this morning? This kind of maybe looks like they already announced. Yeah, I don't love the look of NVAX. They haven't announced. Oh, okay. So that could change things. My first thought was kind of up here. This level might be important. 67. Somewhere between 67 and 71. Kind of in here. If they're able to get higher, I would kind of be looking for that area to fail. And they kind of did it off of this wick. But I think there's still some room for them to come back in and wick through this. I don't know, you have to see what they do on earnings. But on the big time frame, you know, I definitely have my eye watching. Because look at what they did here. This is your weekly. Or no, this is your weekly. Though that pivot low, like we talk about all the time, they came in and they took out all the stops below that pivot low and then turned it back. But they did not make a new high. Even with that big ramp, they were not able to make like a real proper new high. In fact, they kind of stopped it. They stopped it right in here. This pivot low. Is that the one that took you all the way up? Yep. It's your pivot low that took you all the way to the high. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it. Walmart? Ew. Novavax earnings. So hold up. Still not really any action here. Oh, because I don't have after hours turned on. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. All right, Walmart. Yeah, so this just looks like a nice retrace and a loss. I mean, pretty clean. Right? You have your lows here. It's been support for months and months and months. All through here. Make a new high. We lose where we had support. We came back and we tested. So to me, this is your big line in the sand, 134-ish. Up and over that. Be looking for a move back into it for a potential long up. On this side, you held this pivot low. But I don't know. What does the monthly look like? I think somewhere in here might be important at some point. Kind of almost want to see them take out these lows. And they didn't do it. They held them. I don't know. I think my gut would be Walmart's going lower. But up and over 135 and holding, then maybe I would change my story on it. Or I changed my thinking on it. Yeah, NVDA tanking the market today. They announced soft guidance ahead of earnings. But again, Apple did this too. And look at where they're closing. I mean, look at what they've done in the past, in the last. Apple did it too, is all I'm saying. And if Apple did, maybe they're trying to get out ahead of something too, just like Apple seemed like Apple was trying to do. It's a pretty strong buyback there towards the end of the day. Winter earnings. Excuse me. Earnings on NVDA are on the 24th, so a couple weeks there. Koobsy. Don't know what you said. Sorry, your message got retracted. Happy, you think the CPI comes in low, but to control inflation, they need more unemployment, which would result in a higher rate hike in September. You're going to look to buy calls on TQQ after the Fed meeting in September. You got it all planned out. Is UPST open yet? UPST not open yet. How common is it that they do this ahead of earnings? I don't know if that's that common. I don't see that happen that much. I don't think. UPST double miss. Bang, bang. Not good for UPST longs. Let's see if they catch it at 25. I don't even know what it's trading at right now. But let's see if they catch it at 26. That'd be my guess. Cuts guidance to half. Whew! Yikes. What's up, Alex? You gonna get me some Starbucks? What do I deserve Starbucks for? Why? I don't need no Starbucks. That's very kind of you to offer. I'm actually kind of like a coffee freak. I've got a ton of different coffee making contraptions. I've got an espresso machine. I've got pour over. I've got a drip maker. I got some fancy stuff. I love my coffee. It's like my favorite thing in the morning. Well, thank you very much, Alex. I'm just doing my job, man. I'm just here doing my job. But it's a pleasure to get for this to be my job. It's pretty cool. So when are they going to open this thing? Come on. Is it open yet? Is it still halted? I do not roast my own beans. I haven't gotten that meta yet. There are some roasteries like a couple blocks from my house. They fix my coffee machines when I break them. NVAC's huge miss too. Yeah, it's still closed. Joe, how do you roast them? Do you roast them like in the oven or something? Oh, I know Cafe Bustelo. See, I would just go to my roaster and pick up beans from them because I know that those were roasted within the past like day or two. That's good enough for me. Those guys are the experts. I don't know a thing about roasting beans. I did go and watch them. I did spend a day hanging out at the roastery once, though, maybe 2 years ago or something. Just talking shop, learning how they do what they do. Just as nothing more than I was just a fan of their coffee, so I just went over there. Use a popcorn popper. Interesting. Never even considered trying it. DDD, what's up, Chewy? Ooh. Yikes. You know, this thing was such a monster. Well, no, never mind. I'm thinking M. 3D. Yeah, no. I was thinking 3M. I mean, yeah, it doesn't look great. Still haven't ever really held the low, have they? It'd be interesting to see them come back into this 960 area. Kind of in here. I mean, they held it, but they never really tested it proper. Getting back to coffee, though, I definitely do like to try all the different things in terms of coffee styles. And flavor profiles. There's a whole world of coffee flavors out there that I'm interested in. Let's see, what else are we looking at today? Interesting, some pretty incredible strength in crypto. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but ETH is rocking. Remove all this stuff. I really thought they were going to come back in to that 1250 area. Still think they're gonna. I don't know when. But man, I still think they're gonna. Solana, a little slow. Excuse me, lots going on here. Too much. Take it all off. Oh, sorry, Vedant. Let's look at Google real quick. Vedant? I'm not sure how to say your name, Mr. Bubna. In a tricky spot. So what they might have done today, they might have pulled liquidity here. See how they just barely wicked above the previous high. So you had a lot of shorts who had stops above this high, just the opposite of what they do at lows, pivot lows. You had a bunch of stops here. They came in, they took out all the stops, and they immediately turned it lower. So that would be concerning for me if I were long. It's a huge range, that 105 to 120. I guess it's really not that huge. It's like 15%. But this is your range. And this is where we need to get out of. At some point, I'd imagine they're going to drive this thing up and out. Can they do it without... I mean, one thing that's kind of interesting is that they haven't been able to do this, even with the Qs being quite strong. So that's kind of, this is weak in comparison to the Qs. Where I'd be watching for them to gain this high. So above 120. And then I think you got room up to like 128, 130. Still held a higher low. Let me see. Let me go to a smaller time frame and just see if I can see anything that looks... Yeah, I don't love how they did that. Oh, and they got this too. They got a big gap here. The gap up on earnings. The plot thickens. Interesting also that your anchored VWAP from your gap up and your anchored VWAP from your March high are converging at the same spot. 116. This is also a level that hasn't really been tested. It would also, if they brought it back down to there, you take out a bunch of shorts here who probably have, or rather longs that probably have stops. Yeah, 116 might be an interesting spot on Google. But you also have this big gap here that, I don't know, I'm not 100% confident about like how to be thinking about how many times something should test before it doesn't need to be tested again. Like this whole area down here, prices traded all through here. Even though there's a big gap there, prices traded all through here a bunch, and it's gapped previously too. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Over 120 would be interesting. Back to 116 would be interesting. Solar Edge. Solar Name's been rocking. Oh, looks like it got rocked. Huh. Ooh. Ooh. Talk about, this is a tricky one too. Man, you guys are coming correct with the tricky charts. All right, so what have we done? We did not make a new high. Would have liked to have seen a new high. You got a high. You got a new high, and you got a failed new high. I guess this is what you're talking about. Did somebody say Head and Shoulders here? No, maybe not. Yeah, wow, this is really interesting. I mean, so I think this is hard. This is a hard one. You might have an opportunity, might. I only say might because it looks like they already did it. Yeah, I think they really got to hold it here. If they don't hold it here, I think you might be seeing 265. I mean, they could potentially come in and just take out these lows. Right in here. They could do that. Let's go to this low and anchor. Yeah. This is a really tricky chart. They didn't really make a new high. She would have wanted to have seen. I don't know. They could definitely bring it all the way back to 220 too. Might take some time. Might not look like it's gonna go back there. Also, you know, like price action could do such that it makes it appear like it's not going back there. But this thing has been chopping for weeks, for years, really. Just chilling in this little range. I mean, it's not a little range. It's a $200 range, but it's still in a range. And it did not make a new high. I mean, I think my gut instinct is that it's probably ultimately headed lower, but I don't know at what rate or in how it gets there. This one's tough. Some of them are tough. Tesla on the monthly. Yeah, so we talked about Tesla. That 830 area might be interesting. 815, somewhere in here could be a very interesting opportunity for a long. Like $800 would be sweet. I mean, even 850, honestly. I don't think I'm prepared quite yet to say that that's a head and shoulders. But it could end up being that. GDX. I think if I were long GDX right now, I'd be looking to get out somewhere in the $29 area. That's a pretty clear one, you know. Nice support around there, and then they failed it. You might expect them to come back in and backtest it. You made a new high here, but you didn't make a new high, relatively speaking, to the bigger term high. A bigger time frame high. Man, could you imagine back at $15? Take out all these pivot lows from 2020? I don't know. Maybe. That could take some time too. Silver looks a little bit better. Still the same idea though. Actually, silver kind of coming into maybe a sell area here. Depending on your time frame, of course. You know, I don't know. People who are buying gold and silver sometimes have long time frames, so I got to keep that in mind. But yeah, I would think it might start losing its strength here relatively soon, coming into this area of distribution. I wouldn't expect this thing to gain this stuff because it's just not really showing any reason why it would. And you've kind of, so you had, you know, you had this area, right? We went below it, we retested it, and went lower. So yeah, my expectation would be somewhere in here. $20. Psychological would make sense too. Tattooed Chef down 5%. That's gross. BMRN, a chart with a crazy range. James. Ah, James. Why you do this to me, man? What is this? Exhaustion risk is what it is. Yeah, I mean, you're taking out these highs. Doesn't mean that it's going to pull back, but you have the risk of exhaustion here. You have quite a few levels of importance into the gap that could come into play. It's kind of pausing right off of these old highs and right into a gap, right before a gap. Yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't touch this, but I don't know anything about this. I don't really trade biotechs ever. KSS. Yeah, so this was one that I was watching, actually. They were very tricky with it. Look how tricky they were. Man, they were just mean. They gain. They fail. They lose the lows. And then they gain. It's nasty. It's just mean. So mean. This is the type of thing. If I saw this, it would make me not want to trade this. Like, just looking at this makes me not want to trade this chart at all. Because this is insanity. But, you know, you're into the gap. And they have finally kind of, you know, they broke those previous highs. And you could kind of put them relative, you know, whatever, here-ish. They broke the highs. They fail them. They take out all the lows. God, that's so cruel. So cruel. You know, people are buying long into this breakout. I was looking at it. I didn't end up buying anything, but I was looking at it. And they just immediately lost it and take out all these lows and then turn it back. It's just so cruel. And then they take out this high, or they double top this high. They like barely take it out, and then they pull it back and hold. So I guess 29.66 would be my line in the sand on this one. Anything below 29.66, or I guess, you know, a close below 29.45. They could definitely come back in and take out stops, couldn't they? Since they made a new low, they made a new high, you kind of got exhaustion risk on both sides. Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. You have this to worry about, 34.60. But you held, yeah, I mean, you held nice here. I don't know. That's all. This just games, man. I don't like it. I don't like that they did this. I mean, it's great trading, but it's just so cruel if you're like trying to do anything, trying to go long or short. It's just so hard to. That's hard. Yeah, that's a good question, James. XRT in relation. XRT right into a primo spot today to take a short. Yeah, you see that? Doesn't necessarily mean that they won't continue higher, but it was just a good opportunity to take an initial reaction short. Lots of volume today on XRT. Interestingly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's doing a lot of stuff you'd want it to do off this bottom. Might look at like 67.5 or so as a potential spot. I mean, it gained this and came back and held. I might look for a move back to 67.5. See what it does when it gets there. If it looks like it's holding, maybe you can make a move. Because it didn't flat reject here. I mean, it did reject, but not like, you know, you wicked through it. Anchored VWAP from COVID low. Look at that. Oops. So that is concerning. Oh, well, there you go. Anchored VWAP off COVID low, up and over it. Does that vibe with my 67 area? Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't, I don't know. I want to say that it doesn't look terrible, but again, I just don't know. Jordan, man, absolutely. Thanks for being here. I appreciate y'all being here. NVAX down 35%. Holy guacamole, guys. Yikes. I hope none of y'all are long. DIA, and then I'm going to get out of here. I mean, it's failing right where it should. Right? I mean, you would expect it to fail here. It's in a nasty downtrend. You don't expect to be gaining new highs in downtrends. That said, you know, I don't want to be in a downtrend. I want the market to be bullish. And I'm rooting for the bulls pretty much all the time. But this isn't what you want to see. We need price making new highs. We don't need it failing at previous ones. Bounced off prior highs, and now you're thinking it could come back down and at least retest lows or the prior high from July. Is this the prior high from July right here? Late June? Is this what you're talking about, James? Yeah, okay. So it kind of already did that. right? And kind of did that right here. And it held. UPS down 11.5%. God almighty. Yeah, James, I'm just kind of like trying to suss this out and figure out what I think about it. I mean, ultimately, dude, we need to get above this stuff, right? Like, you just need to. Now, when you get above this stuff, what's more than likely going to happen is you're likely going to get a pullback. That pullback could end up being actually kind of extreme. You can maybe come back here. Wouldn't surprise me. 305. It's not tested. So my idea here, yeah, I think it's starting to get a little bit clearer for me. My idea here would be if we gain, I'd be looking for then to lose and then a retest and then another loss and then a move. That's kind of where my head would be at on it. Because if we make a new high against these guys, then that would set up the idea that we're going to go higher. It would be kind of like a big deal to gain this stuff. It's kind of like with Qs. You know, Qs gained all that stuff in here. Now Qs need this. IWM gained all that stuff in here just today, really. Today and Friday. And now they need this. And they're trying. They're definitely trying. I would go so far as to say that IWM is stronger than the rest of them. SPY needs to gain, and it's not. But then you got crypto, and crypto's rolling. You know? And look at ETH. Up and over like this big support level, or previous support level. Making a new high. Today. Bitcoin, hadn't quite made a new high yet, but ETH has been leading. Whether or not these things are all interrelated, it's hard to know. Or rather, DIA. But if we get higher, if we get above this stuff, then what that would suggest to me is that when we make a move back into retest, that we're actually going to hold some lows. I don't know how far back it'll test. No one knows that, right? But you would anticipate that they would hold lows. They wouldn't make a new low. But if we don't gain this and we start finding our way back down here, that could set up another new low, which is the problem. At least that's what I see as the problem. SPY, same deal. If we don't get up and over here and we fail, that puts into the realm of possibilities that we could get, and we could go make another new low. However, if we were to gain, then that would kind of set up the expectation that when we pull back, that we might actually hold. So I'm hoping we can gain there, James. Long story short, I'm hoping we can gain 333. I'd love to see it. That would be awesome. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. UPST down 11%. Yikes. Well, watch that $22 level. Right? That's the all-time low. Dang. This is nasty. But they held it kind of right about where you'd want them to. Right? They haven't really come back and tested any of this, and they just did. I would bet this fills, though. We'll see. All right, so that's it for me today. I very much appreciate all of you guys being here with me, as always. It means the world. You guys could have been anywhere, but you're here with me, and it means a lot. We've got a lot on the docket this week. Let me talk you through what we got going on this week. Oh, man. Jay, hold on. Somebody was asking about coin. Jason Wright was looking for answers on coin. Oh, look at him buying it back up. Let's look at coin real quick for Mr. Wright. A lot of smart people buying coin right now. I mean, failed right where it should have, right? 112. I'd like to see him come back in to where it broke out from, $80. Don't know if it will. They've got earnings, looks like tomorrow. Definitely one to watch. I don't know if I love Coinbase. Could be more of like a fundamental type of thing too, so keep that in mind. But I would let earnings play out. They're so close. I would just keep my hands off the wheel and put them back on the wheel when after earnings would be my thinking on that. James, Jason, that's for y'all. Okay, again, I'm going to get out of here. Before I do, though, let's talk about what we got going on this week. Sadie, can you hook me up? Let me see. We've got a Twitter Spaces this week. That's tomorrow. I can't remember the guests that we have on, so I'm going to see if Sadie can hook me up with the guests for the Twitter Spaces. I wonder if she's watching right now. Sadie's my producer. Everybody say hi to Sadie. Here we go. She's watching. Yeah, I know Jack on Thursday. So while we're here, Jack from Alpha Charts 365, right? Alpha Charts. I want to get this right. I'm just spacing. Yes, Jack from Alpha Charts 365. He is joining us on Thursday for live charting. Thursday is our live charting is our show that we do every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we always have a guest on. That guest, you guys can show up. You guys can request stickers, and our guest will chart out those stickers for you, let you know what he or she thinks about them. On Tuesday, we've got Twitter Spaces. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern time. This is Trade Ideas Space. So if you're looking for trade ideas, come hang out on Tuesday on Twitter. And we're going to be hanging out with iBot404. Droptions Weekly, Doctor Options, not Droptions, Doctor Options Weekly, and Gobi Calls. So those guys on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I'll be back here again, 2:30 to 4:30 Eastern time, taking your chart requests, answering your TrendSpider platform questions, and just, kicking it old school with all y'all. So with that is my schedule for the rest of the week. You know where to find me. I'm on Twitter. At Krutzky Trades. Hit me up with any questions. Hit the team up with any questions that you guys have about the platform. Remember, down here, bottom right-hand corner, contact us, write in your message, and the guys will get back to you. That's James. You guys have seen him in chat today. This is James right here. This is Matt. And I don't know who this is. This is somebody that doesn't have a picture yet. Yeah. Ask them any questions that you guys have about the platform. They're happy to help you. There's my calendar for all the shows. And really, that's it, guys. That is everything I got for y'all today. Be safe out there. We've got CPI on Wednesday. It's going to be a hot number. Can't wait. So we'll be talking about that for sure. And yeah, until next time, it has been a pleasure kicking it with y'all. As always, thank you for being here. We do very much appreciate it. And we will see you again Tuesday night, Wednesday afternoon, and Thursday night. And I expect all of y'all to be there. And if you're not there, you're not allowed to come to these ever again. No, I'm just kidding. I'll see you next time. Bye.